What's up, TUFE Nation? My name is Jean Abreu, and I am the host of TUFEcast. Today, we are with Marlon Brito. He's a psychologist at Goiás Esporte Clube. And to start off, I just want to say thank you, Marlon. It's great to have you here, and I'm pretty excited to talk about mental health, the importance of the mental for the sports and athletes. And to start, Marlon, present yourself.
First of all, thank you so much for the privilege to speak to you and towards others that's involved in the TUFEcast. My name is Marlon Brito, as you said. I'm 46 years old, married for 21 years with Yara, and we had two kids. The first one, Camille, she's 18 years old, and she actually residing in United States. She's in college there. She's athlete as well, more in dance, and choreography world. And also I have Philip, which is 6 years old. Philip is American, and Philip loves sports as well. So I have the privilege to work in the world of sports, and I grew up in Rio de Janeiro, Teresópolis, by being specifically, and I grew up watching the best soccer players in the world. I worked for 5 years at CBF as a ball boy, and then office boy. I traveled, around Brazil with most of the soccer players in the national teams. That brought a lot of passion, into my heart, about soccer. As you know, a lot of kids in Brazil born, dreaming to become a soccer players or football players, and I wasn't different. Being frankly, that was my desire, my dream to become a professional soccer player, which I couldn't make it. But later on, I realized how important I could be in the world and the team, and also being involved with soccer players or football players. So, talking about my duty, it's really unique for me because I haven't seen psychologists working in the sports, specifically in Brazil. And I always ask to myself, what's in the world? We have a physical trainer, we have a head coach, goalie trainer, but we don't have psychologists because I believe that's, we have a body, a soul, and a spirit, and we need to work, this soul area of our lives. In the sports, for instance, there is a lot of pressure, there is a lot of, expectations. And nowadays, we have seen finally, soccer, football being open for psychologists. But this passion came into my heart a long time ago to help others to achieve their goals in a easily or in the right way, controlling, the passion, controlling the pressure, but controlling everything in the right direction. So that's how the passion, the dream, and then the mission came to my heart to become a psychologist, and specifically in the world of sports.
No, that's great. That's great, and I agree 100% with you. It's crazy to see. We see a lot of fitness coaches, assistant coaches, analysts, uh, all kinds of professionals, and we still can see today teams without psychologists. And for me, it doesn't make sense. How can we work the body without working the mind? And today, going more specific into what you do, today you are working at Goiás Esporte Clube with the under 20, right? And also with
Mhm.
individual athletes. Can you explain a little bit to us?
Yeah, I have started with professional team since 2013. My first team was Cracky in Catalão, Goiás. By the way, at that time we worked together in the Serie D, and uh, um, we made it, for the finals, and we made up for Serie C. So ever since, I've been working with clubs and also with individuals. But just last year, the Goiás team, the director Eduardo Pinheiro, invited me to do a specific job with those players that are in transition, down from U20 up to the professionals. We started working there last year in May, and it's been a great opportunity for me. So I don't reside in Goiânia. I live in Goiás City, which is about 2 hours away. I go to Goiânia once a week, which I do a group and a team work. We have a speech for them, always focusing, in their mental development. And also I do individual sessions with those players that are moving up for the next group, professional group. Besides that, I see professional players around the world. We have players in the Middle East. We have players in Europe. We have players in South America. We have players, in 8 different countries. So it's my part-time job as well, doing, this job in Goiás, but also doing individuals, outside of Goiás.
And you talk a little bit about players in the transition. I think this is one of the very special and difficult part of a football player, is to jump from the academy to professional. So how important is mental health for you into this kind of players? Not only these players, but in general, and also talking about the staff. We are talking about football players a lot. The pressure of a football player, the pressure that they have onto the pitch, but also the staff. With the experience that I have, which is not a lot, but I could see how the staff gets the pressure. Not only the coaches, also the coaches, the fitness coach, everyone that is working at the club. Football is very passionate sport, and lots of fans, they put this pressure on the staff. So how important is the mental health for you? Not only for the players. We can start with the players, especially the players that are in this transition, and then we can go over the professional players and also the staff of a club.
Talk about this, we need to talk about the context that we face too. Brazil is a country that don't consider football as a sport. On my side, the Brazil people considers football as a life. And that changed completely the scenario that we face too. So there is no just expectation about the staff, about the players, about the team. There is a huge pressure for results, for win. And it's really common, to see fans praising, the team when they are, winning, but just one loss can change completely the environment. And talking about the U20 specifically, Jan, it's really important because U20 for me is the professional team on the categorias de base, on the youth program. For me, the U20 is the professional, season of the youth program. And that is a really theme, line between the U20 up to the professional. And on that season, 20 years old boy or girl gets so intense on everything they do. And I used to say the U20 team is a team that is ahead of a hell door, or you can be ahead of a heaven door. If you make the professional, you achieve the heaven. But if you lost, position or get out or get fired on the team, that can be in the hell environment for someone. So for me, every season is really important. But the U20, it's a season, is a team that cannot be in lack of a mental support. It's really important, for every team to understand that we are not talking to machines. We are not talking to bill, or a cash uh, uh, kind of person, because most of the agents, directors as well, they see the players as a money maker, a money machine. But we need to understand that's not like the player, but inside of the player, there is a human being, there is a soul, there is a emotions and feelings that we dwell with. So for me, psychologists, mental support is important for every season, but specifically and especially for the U20, which is in transition for up or down or being freezing. So.
And what about the staff? I agree 100% with you. And this transition is probably one of the most important moments for a football player. But what about the staff of a club? How important for you is the psychology for this kind of people? Because again, I agree 100% with you also when you say that football is it's a religion in Brazil. It's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy. So the pressure is higher than a normal sport. But we talk a lot about psychology into the players, but what about the staff?
Well, the staff is a little different because you don't work together, yeah, or don't work alone. You have the staff which can be supportive, for you, but I would mention one person specifically on the staff, which is the head coach. The head coach, yes, he gets a lot of pressure. I work with several soccer coaches, and sometimes they feel more pressure than the players, and they feel more stressed, than players. It's not hard to find, so many, head coach having heart attacks. We don't see the TV, the stats, but I have seen and I know so many head coach that have, a heart problems because it's a really, really pressure environment, especially during the games. In Brazil, the problem get worse because a soccer coach in Brazil is not like a head coach just, but in the case of the Brazil national team, the head coach becomes the president of Brazil. So for me, actually, I met Dorival Jr. about 2 weeks ago in Rio de Janeiro, and we had a little conversation, and I was honoring him. I was praising him for his attitude and his character and his, background in soccer. But I was explaining to the people that was with me, the guys from the United States. I was telling them, welcome, and come to meet the president of Brazil. And a few guys from the United States said, "Oh, you told us that he's not the president. You told us that he's the head coach." So I'm confused. I told them, yes, he has the head coach. But in Brazil, the head coach of the national team becomes the president of Brazil. A lot of pressure, a lot of tension, and it's really, really important, for a team, gets availability, for one psychologist or a mental coach, specifically for the head coach and the staff. Working together make the process easier or softer, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a great example, and you couldn't say it any way better. And talking about the department, the psychologist department, we see that this is growing in Brazil. This is growing in Brazil, but I still think, in my opinion, that is still little. There's a lot of clubs that don't pay attention to this, and maybe they have this department, but they don't really use it, or they don't use it in the right way. How do you see this in the future? How do you see this now, and how do you see this in the future of Brazilian football?
The problem, Gian, is the limited, belief that we have in our mindsets, because the stigma of psychologist is a doctor or professional for crazy people, insane people. This stigma is still, alive, and that's a problem. I know that few players, some players like to talk to me, some players don't want to approach because they are scared what are going to ask them, what people are going to think about them. It's a stigma that we create in Brazil, and this stigma is still alive. So psychology department is something that's growing, and actually CBF is demanding for every youth, program must have a psychologist. But the problem is that just a few teams in Brazil, they have psychologists for the professional department. In our case, here in Goiás, they just hired, a professional for the professional team now. We have also another psychologist for the youth program, which is really important. It's growing, but I believe that we're gonna see a great development right now, because I don't know if you noticed that, but last week the CBF, the professional national team, just hired, since 10 years ago, a professional psychologist that's gonna work with the team. It's a great, asset for us. What a grant for the psychologists in Brazil, having a psychologist in the national team right now. I think that the things are changing. The people are open their minds, which is good. And the soccer players, you gain out of this. So I believe that we are in the right direction. We are a little slow, we are delayed, but everything in Brazil has a delay, to start. So I believe that we're gonna get bigger soon.
I hope too. I hope too. And you talk about the players, and sometimes they feel scared of talking to you. How is to work with young players? How do you approach them? Because I believe that's one of the difficult parts, because we can see that not only the young ones, the adults, like young adults or older people, they really have this difficulty to sit down and talk with people or a psychologist. But how hard is to work with the young ones? How do you approach them? How do you bring them together uh, to this so important moment, which is to talk about their mental health, their problems, and how to fix these problems so they can perform. They can have a better end result, which is on the pitch, play better, perform better. How do you approach these players?
Believe me, as much younger they are, much easier it is. The hard players to work with is the older ones. It's the older
Yeah,
ones,
that's
because
that's
they grew
interesting.
up. Yeah, they grew up with this stigma. They grew up with limited beliefs, and if a lot of them think, if I got in here without psychologists, I'll make it without psychologists. I don't need it. So, but there is a new generation. Like yesterday, I spoke to the U11, U12 of Goiás. They're in preparation for a world tournament, Gold Cup. And those kids, you should see, they're hungry, they're thirsty, to listen to me. They are like, really, really up, really awakening, to receive everything. Because those kids live in this pressure generation. The postmodernism generation bring a lot of pressure. Depression is in every kid mouth. Pressure, tension, anxiety, it's in our normal vocabulary. I was telling them that my first time that I heard about depression, I was over 20 years old. But because of this globalization thing, because of the social media, internet, this stuff, that brought a lot of tension, pressure, and then the young ones are open, for receiving help, a mental health. So for me, I don't have any difficulty, to work with the young football players. For me, the big challenging is to work with the older ones.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting that you say that. It makes sense. It makes 100% sense. And in terms of these players, is there any player or many, more than one player that caught your attention in terms of their work ethic, or in terms of this situation that you say, a guy that is open-minded to receive knowledge, to work their mental health? Is there anyone that you have in specific that you think that was a great example, someone that you worked that caught your attention?
Well, there are so many players that care a lot about mental health, psychology, and which is good, or at the least mentorship. We have like the guys in Europe that care a lot about this. But there is one player that I work with. His name is Elton Leite, and you probably have met him in Botafogo. Elton is a successful, case for me. Elton is a guy that invests, hard in his mental health. We start working together about is a proof that when you invest on your emotion life, you get results in the pitch. You get results in your life. So Elton is a impressive player because he's so determined. He's so hard worker. He's resilient, and but he's a guy that never rests in terms of get away from what he has started off. So there are so many players in Brazil, the national team, that's invest. I just heard about Richarlison. Richarlison, I mean, every psychologist could perceive that he was in a bad shape because a lot of pressure on his mind, on his heart, and I just noticed that he started, working as psychologist, and everything has changed in his career. The way he thinks, the way he sees stuff, the way he plays, and I believe that um, 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 those guys that invest in their emotional life, you get results for sure. So Elton Leite for me is a case of success because he is my first player that I used to work with, and for me, he's a result of our job.
Perfect, perfect. That's awesome. And in terms of English now, let's jump into English. Your English is very good, just taking this moment to say that.
Thanks.
And how important is English in terms of your profession? Now, we're going to have people listening to us that work in football. We're going to have players also. But in your opinion, how important is the English for football in general, for players, for staff, not only for football, for life?
2005, I was in Rio de Janeiro. I was in a workshop with soccer coaches, and Professor Parreira, Coach Parreira, he started speaking, and all of a sudden he says, "What's your third language? What the third language that we speak?" And people got like, surprised. What are you talking about? He said, "Yeah, because the first language and the second language, it's mandatory. The world now is asking what the third language that you speak." It was 2005, yeah, 2005. He was demanding, or the world, through him, was demanding a third language to be spoken. And he said, Portuguese is mandatory, and the English and the Spanish is mandatory if you want to succeed in life. So 19 years has been passed, and so many players depend on translator, depend on the app to do that. And I believe that speaking or be able to speak another language is an open door tool. I don't have any problem to travel around the world. I've been in over 25 countries, and be able to speak English open doors. Communication is everything. How are you gonna survive without communication? How can you order food, without speak the language? You can, but you're gonna take a lot of hard work to explain or mimic, what do you want. So about 10 years ago, I met a professional soccer player that used to play in Iran, and he was confessing me because of I'm not able to speak English. I just lost $10,000. I said, how come? He said, well, my agent gave me the contract. I read the contract. I was ashamed to ask any questions. I said, everything is right. And then I gave him, on that contract, a percentage that was over that he's supposed to ask. I lost $10,000 because I couldn't speak or understand or at the least read English.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's crazy. That's crazy, and I'm pretty sure this happens a lot.
For
If
sure, for sure. The
if you
world of
check,
sports, you have good people, have bad people. Actually, you
yes,
have more badly intentionally people than a good, intentional people. So
yes, and today it's funny, but it's sad. Not sad, but I would say it's bad to see. We see good professionals, and I talk with a lot of students. Good
mhm,
professionals missing opportunities outside of Brazil because they don't have the language. And we see other not so experienced professionals taking these opportunities. And it's
mhm,
crazy to think about this.
mhm,
Many people that work with football, staff, coach, fitness coach, physiologists, and all kinds of professionals wants to go outside. They want to go abroad, but they don't focus on this. We see this changing a little bit now, especially now because in Brazil this is being necessary. It's not even a plus; it's necessary. You can see clubs like Bahia, for example. If you want to work in Bahia, you need to have certain kind of level of language of English.
mhm.
So we see this changing a little bit. I hope it changes more, but I always say that to change this mentality of, oh, I don't need English, I don't need a third language, or this is not so important. We need to start from the beginning with the young ones, and as soon as we start changing this mentality of the importance of education, not only English, we're gonna see professionals growing up with a different mentality, and
For
this
sure.
is this is definitely something that I hope this new generation, the professionals of the new generation, can come and can bring more and more the importance of the education to these athletes. And to finish, talking to the young ones, the people that look at you and say, I want to be like this guy. I want to work in football. I want to work as a psychologist in football. I want to inspire people. What advice do you give to this kind of people? You had a long journey. You worked, you have many experiences. And we're going to have people listening that want to know more and want to hear an advice from you. So, what advice would you give to people that want to be in your place or want to get into a place of success as you are right now?
So my last message, my last advice for athletes, not just for athletes, but for everyone that are listening us, you take this for your life. Don't forget, you have a body, but you have a soul. You have a set of uh, mm, you can gather your bones, your muscles, but inside of you, you carry a set of feelings and emotions. Invest in both. Train hard at the gym, but have someone to open your heart, to be mentored, someone that you can share your strugglings, your sorrows, your pressures. Have someone can help you to direct your path in your career. I believe, Jean, 100% about this. It is what I live. I live this. I balance my body with my soul. I have someone that trained me at the gym, but I have someone that trained me in my emotions. They can listen to me. I can open my heart. They're gonna keep the secret. They can give me some feedbacks, and then having a psychologist, to share, what are you facing to, what are you struggling to. It's important, to create a flush, way to put your emotions, your pressures away, and then the peace comes and the balance comes for you can accomplish what you committed to play the good game of football or to performance what you've been called to. That's for me the greater message that I can leave and deliver for those listeners.
Awesome, awesome, Marlon. Thank you very much for this rich conversation. It was great having you here. I hope we can do more events with you. You know, again, thank you very much for your time. I hope and wish all the best to you, to the people that you work with, the clubs, and see you soon.
Okay, Jean, I'm the one that I really appreciate your invitation to be here. It's my privilege. And I hope that you can contribute, for what TUF is doing in Brazil, around the world. And I trust 100% on your job, in your calling and mission. And I believe that TUF comes to fulfill a huge gap that it is in those football players' career. Congratulations for all you do, and keep going and keep moving. And I'm looking forward to see you soon.